America has been emasculated. Don't like the general strokes that I'm painting with? Well, that's where we are at right now. Didn't you know 2 plus 2 equals 5? Anyway, let's talk masks, an advertisement campaign that's burning down a town, people that have already drawn the lines, and the founding of America. I'm Isaac Lopez, and this is the Life Given Podcast. So, in this first segment, let's talk masks. All right, we'll get to the advertisement campaign, and I'm excited. And hint, it has something to do with the sweatshirt I'm wearing. For the audio listener, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to be held in suspense as to who I'm actually talking about. But let's get back to talking masks and the coronavirus. This thing just won't go away. And I think it's because we, the people, won't let it go. Okay, this also has a rather local theme to the entire show, but don't worry, it will apply to everyone throughout the country. For my national listeners, hang tight because we've got a jam-packed show that I think, I've said this multiple times last season, but something that can happen here can happen in your town, as we have seen plenty of times. So our beloved mayor of the town of Moscow issued a decree that was met with more praise and more applause than I would have hoped. Just a couple days ago, as of Thursday morning, if you are out and about and you cannot social distance 6 feet from people, it is mandatory that you wear a mask. Now, there are obvious exceptions to this rule. If you're in a restaurant, you can eat, you can drink by taking your mask down. So you can take your mask down, don't worry, that's allowed. But it is now mandatory, and it is also you will be fined with a misdemeanor and $1,000 if you do not comply. So, as I believe most businesses in town have now made it mandatory for you to actually enter their business, you must be wearing a mask. So this has already come. So this has already taken hold of Moscow quite quickly, and many people are fine with it. They are fine with wearing masks, and this is stemming. The mayor's actions is stemming from purportedly a rise in cases in Latah County. Now, for our local county, that means a rise of 4 cases. We are now up to 20 as of 2 days ago. It might be north. We'll just say a little north of 20, just to be fair and just. Okay. There has been a climb in cases around all of Idaho. The mayor has seen a little rise in cases here locally, and so he's taking the preventative measures by enforcing masks. Now, you may ask, what's the problem with wearing masks? It's not really that big a deal. I have a huge issue with this. I actually think it's dumb. I think it's stupid and way out of bounds for the mayor to do this. And it's predicated on the idea that the coronavirus is an emergency. Now, I want to address this and not argue over the effectiveness of masks, because I think that's a very debatable issue right now, but that's not what I have a problem with. I have the problem with the actual authority that the mayor thinks he has, and he really doesn't. It's a lot of the US is going back into lockdowns over this issue of authority, and it's due to this idea that we are in the state of an emergency. If you read the order that he put out, it's all predicated on the coronavirus being something that is endangering the health of the public. And so they being the city council, the mayor, can make these rules because it is protecting the lives of the people they are governing. So I think that before we get into that issue at hand, I just want to go back and review the statistics. As of the last week of the coronavirus, week 26, let's look at what the CDC has to say about how deadly this disease really is, okay? Just to remind you, because I think a lot of people are talking about how terrible of a disease it was a few months ago. Now people are starting to realize it's not that bad, but let's just review, okay? So, as of yesterday, so this is the most updated data that we have according to the CDC. There was 128,004 deaths in the United States, nationally speaking. Okay. But divide that by the amount of cases that we have seen in the United States, 2,679,230 cases. Do you know what you get with that number? When you divide that, 0.047783. And let's go ahead and round up, okay? Because that's what we do in math. Let's round to the nearest tenth. That's going to be 0.05. That's crazy. How does that let, and also just as a side note, at the beginning of this, the science deniers that were being roasted alive for saying this is no more worse than the common flu was saying that this was maybe 0.02% mortality rates. And the science affirmers, the science worshipers, were saying that the coronavirus was going to kill somewhere between 7 and 9%. Let's go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt and say 5 to 7%. Who was closer? By far, right now, the science denier was closer. The anti-vaxxer, the anti-corona, the corona denier. Those were the people that were much closer than the science worshiper. Okay, let's just get that straight. All right, I need to keep moving here or else I'm going to run out of time. But remember that, and just a couple of other things I want to touch on real quick. According to the CDC, the activity level has been lower than peak seen in March and April. So just like the flu season, we're coming out of the flu season, we're coming out of the coronavirus season. Okay, it's starting to, although increase in cases. Okay, so the activity level is lowering, the peak is lowering, but there has been an increase in cases. Why is that surprising? I mean, I think we all understood that once we got more testing, we would find that way more people had this than initially thought. Also, hospitalizations. Just looking at this, a friend of mine shared this on Facebook. I really appreciate this stat. 102.5 hospitalizations out of a population of 100,000. You want to do the math on that? That's just 0.001025% of 100%. Of 100,000 people. So just let that sink in. That's where we're at right now. That's the pandemic that we are living through right now. And once again, I need to clarify, I'm not saying that we need to just ignore the fact that this is a deadly disease, that once caught, it can be very, very uncomfortable. But for the majority of people that catch it, they are fine. They're going to be fine. The people who are going to be most affected by this are 65 years and older. Okay, so just remember that. So my problem with this is, and also just locally, okay, we have 20 cases. Let's say that at the lowest amount, because Latah County has a very large student population. So if you look it up, according to the Census Bureau, there are 40,000 people living in Latah County. Now, I want to be fair here and say that that number probably goes up and down with the student body leaving and coming back before and during the summer. So let's go ahead and say 30,000. That's still, you take 20 and you divide by 30,000, that's going to be a ridiculously low percentage. So if this thing is comparable just by statistic to the common cold, to the flu, why aren't we taking the same actions that we have seen taken in the last 100 years? Like, you don't see that for the flu season. You don't see things shutting down over a particularly nasty bug. So where is the mayor getting off? Where does he assume this authority that he can make this run? And here's where I think this is really causing me to, and I know I'm going over time, okay, but I think that this is a really important issue to consider. So my issue is with the authority, with the claim to authority here. I don't think the mayor has the right to do this. I don't think that there's enough justification for him to assume this much power and authority in a community. The last time we saw this happened, okay, let's just rewind it back 5 months, okay, when the coronavirus is coming out, when we're seeing all these statistics about how deadly this disease is and how willing we were to shut down. Okay, we were willing to shut down. But remember how slowly the government gave up the power that they had during the uh, epidemic, the pandemic. Okay, I put that in air quotes for the audio listener because they did not release it very quickly. In fact, they are still in the process of releasing it. Idaho is still stuck in stage 4. We are not technically completely opened up. When Governor Brad Little, who is a Republican, mind you, this is why Christians need to keep an eye on both sides of the aisle, because the Republican Party is hardly more Christian or has more Christian values than the Democratic Party. Governor Brad Little saw the rise in cases and he's like, you know what? We need to stay here a little longer. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Last time we gave the government power, 40 million plus people were out of work. We lost billions of dollars in the industry. We lost more lives. We saw an uptick in mental health crises. What is going on? And then here in Latah County, okay, let's keep it local. If we're talking about a local issue, let's look at the local problems. We saw, I think there was like $22 million that were lost. Hundreds of people lost their jobs. How do you think that's going to reflect on the mayor and the city council coming year when they're still having us wear masks? And just because this isn't just wearing masks, this is also limiting the kind of indoor seating that restaurants live off of. Already, I've heard a number of restaurants downtown have eliminated indoor seating, have also or at least limited the amount of people that they will seat inside because they're trying to hold the 6-foot distance that this proclamation, this edict determines. So that's why I don't think we should bow down to this. If you want to love your neighbor, realize that you can do that by staying 6 feet from them. I think a mask is more virtue signaling that hasn't gotten us anywhere. Okay, we saw virtue signaling with the coronavirus. As we learned more about it, we saw virtue signaling with BLM. And as we learned more about that movement, we realized how crazy that was, and more on that in a minute. And now we're seeing more virtue signaling now, and that doesn't do any good except to give more power to the government and the people that should not have that kind of power. That's what happens when you tacitly consent by going, either not saying anything or by going along with their schemes. Okay, so I'll wear a mask if I go into a store that requires it and I need to get food. Okay, I'm not going to be that petty. But if I'm just out walking with my wife, I'm not going to wear a mask, okay? I'll stay 6 feet from you to let you stay comfortable, okay? But I'm not just going to wear a mask to satisfy your petty desires for power grab. No, not here, okay? So just think about that. Think about what you're doing if you are wearing a mask. What are your reasons? Now, if you have a medical condition, good on you. Wear a mask. All right. But if you're wearing a mask because you feel guilted into wearing a mask when you're just outside having a good time, no, don't do it. So I realize that we're running over time, but I just want to say thanks for stopping in to listen. We'll get to our second segment in a minute. But if you have a moment, whatever platform you're on, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Whatever you're doing, review the podcast because that helps me out by just knowing who I'm talking to, and we're growing the conversation. So please like, comment, subscribe on whatever platform you're on. I appreciate your support through this time. Okay, so that was the promotional ad campaign that started quite a kerfuffle here in Moscow's here in Moscow. And it's really fascinating because and for the audio listener, you can find the ad in the links below. I'll post in the show notes. And you can find it on Facebook. I'm sure you could probably find it on YouTube somewhere. But this ad basically had a guy and a girl walk up to a bathroom that actually happens to be located right outside of New St. Andrews College. And they walk, and there is two massive signs, which, by the way, the city built this bathroom that says men on the left, women on the right. The man peels off, goes into the men's bathroom, and the woman goes into the woman's bathroom. And they say, they basically just make a statement that come to New St. Andrews, we know the difference, even though we're not science majors, between male and female. And this just, the town just explodes over this, okay? And recently in New St. Andrews, which, by the way, is the hoodie that I'm wearing, and this is the school that I attend. I just have a few more credits to finish up there before I graduate next year. And so when this video dropped, the mayor put out a statement basically saying that he did not agree, nor does he back up what the college put out. So here was his response to the video. Here's the mayor's response to the video, because he felt like he needed to put out a statement, which, I think he has a right to do so. Obviously, people have the right to freedom of speech here in the U.S., and so they can speak their minds on this. And if he felt like he needed to say something because New St. Andrews College's message did not line up with him nor the city's, he can feel free to put out a message. Let that be clear. So this is part of it. Okay, you can find it on Facebook. Recently, New St. Andrews College posted a student recruitment video entitled "Boys Will Be Boys," which conveys a message of intolerance to anyone who does not fit traditional male-female gender identities. The video was filmed with the City of Moscow downtown restroom as the prominent background. That's true. Neither the video nor the message it conveys reflects the city's position on inclusiveness. Rather, the city's stance on fundamental individual rights is quite the opposite of NSA's message. So he makes it quite clear that these are the lines drawn in the sand. And this is actually coming around to 4th of July. And to give it to give you a nice send off into the weekend here before on your last day of work. Anyway, happy Independence Day. And this is where I think it's important to realize that the lines are drawn in the sand, whether you like it or not. These are the sides that are being painted with. And you need to make clear which side that you're on, okay? So I love what New St. Andrews is doing. Some people may not really like their aggressive style of advertisement that we've seen in the last 3 weeks, but I think it's great because we need more people. We need more institutions like New St. Andrews that are going to say the basic, this is right and this is wrong. We are in a time that cannot distinguish between right and wrong. And so this is the necessity of that. Okay. This is why an advertisement campaign like that is important. So when they come out and say "boys will be boys," and they post an advertisement, a promo that basically just points out there's a difference between guy and gal, and people have an issue with that, that is the people's problem. Okay, we don't have to pander to that necessarily at all. Okay, so what this indicates to me is that we are not deserving as a country of the freedom that we have long enjoyed up until this point. Now, you may ask, wait, how did you get there? Well, when we're arguing over government overreach, when we're arguing over basic biology about whether or not God created man, male and female, or whether there is a God, and when you look back on the founding fathers' principles that they built this country on, and you look through and you see Christian principles absolutely throughout all of those documents, and you look now, you fast forward 244 years, and you find that where are those Christian principles? There are none. They are no longer here. So that is why I say that this country is no longer deserving, because you cannot just float by and expect that freedom, which is truly a miraculous thing that we have. It's truly a one of a kind thing that we have experienced up until this point. If you think that we can go on living like this without fighting for it, without defending it from the Marxists, without defending it from outside forces or from within, then we are slowly losing our grip of reality, our grip on reality. Each day we should wake up looking to earn the freedom that was given to us. Because if not, we're going to take it for granted, and other people are going to do with it, other people that have a brighter vision, whether it's the right vision or not, a more if they have more drive, they are going to take this freedom and do with it what they will. And that's not the kind of country I want to live in. So that's why the theme of this season is, this is the hill. This is absolutely the hill I want to die on. When people ask you, is this the hill you want to die on? Absolutely. Even if it is just over masks. It's like, why not? Well, because I don't want any more government overreach. The buck stops here. No more. Okay? This is the hill. And here I'm going to stand, because we need a major reformation of culture. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to the second episode of the Life Given podcast. If you will kindly please like and subscribe, I would really appreciate the support, and let's grow the conversation. As a matter of fact, below this video, or if you're on YouTube, go ahead and put in the comments what are some of your favorite 4th of July traditions. And also, if you are on Spotify, you can find me on Instagram _TLG podcast _. You can look me up on there and direct message me. What are some of your favorite 4th of July traditions? Same on Parler. If you happen to be on Parler, at TLG Podcasts, you can find me there. Hit me with a parlay and tell me what are some of your favorite July traditions. And I would just like to hear from you guys as we continue to grow the Life Given podcast family. Anyway, as always, remember that the life that you have been given and the life that you have received includes every area of life. Your freedom is no exception. God bless.